I was lost. I was truly lost. I didn't like the way that I physically looked. It depressed me. People were like, "What's wrong with you? You look fine." I looked down and all I see is this big beer gut. Recognizing the one thing that bothers you the most and then research how to change that. One post has changed the entire course of my life.
Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. I'm your host, Katherine, and today we have a Fit Body Bootcamp owner in the house, and I'm so excited about this relationship. I actually had the great pleasure of talking to Shane about a year ago before he opened his Fit Body Bootcamp, when he was in that exploration phase and he was just dipping his toes into Fit Body ownership, wondering what his life would be like as an owner, what the business model would be, and just exploring the opportunity. And today, he has opened his doors and he has some great stories to share with you guys about the challenges, but also the rewards of being a business owner. So, before we dive into it, I want to give you a background of who Shane is and who he was prior to being a Fit Body Bootcamp owner. So, Shane is a seasoned fitness warrior with over 30 years of experience who has conquered both towering peaks and navigated through the darkest valleys of life. His journey, marked by resilience, discipline, and a relentless pursuit of personal growth, has ignited his passion for inspiring and transforming others. His early years were shaped by 4 dedicated years as a U.S. Marine, followed by a 5-year tenure as a professional firefighter and EMT. Transitioning into the corporate world, he found success as a leader in the asphalt construction industry, heading divisions with a winning mindset. In 2002, he decided to flip the switch on his life and dig out of a dark hole. He embarked on a profound personal transformation fueled by the pillars of discipline, fitness, and nutrition. This radical shift not only transformed his physique, but revolutionized his entire mindset. The newfound passion for fitness, coupled with an unwavering desire to help others lead fulfilling lives, set the stage for a remarkable chapter in his life. Driven by this passion, he made the bold decision to leave his corporate career behind and planted the seeds for Fit Body Bootcamp in the heart of Hendersonville, Tennessee. He embodies the mantra, all at Fit Body Bootcamp, we're not just a gym, we are a family. He opened his doors to everyone, regardless of the current fitness level or nutritional know how. He believes that fitness should be fun for all, and his mission is to make every 30 minutes spent with his team the highlight of their day. So, welcome, Shane, to the podcast. I'm so excited about this conversation with you.
How's it going?
It's going good. The question is, how's it going for you? So, how many weeks have you been open?
So we opened up, actually, I've lost track of the weeks. We opened up January 27th.
Okay.
So it's not been 2 months yet, but we're pushing up on, 6 weeks. And it's been a whirlwind, as you know, getting to that point and then finally getting the doors open and then start where the real magic starts to happen. There's so much that goes in behind it, but man, it was a relief to get to. There's never a finish line, but to get to that peak of the mountain, right?
Right.
There's separate levels, but that was an adventure in itself.
Yeah. So I want to kind of go back to what, I told our listeners about in your intro. You had a pivotal moment in your life in which you decided to leave your longtime career. You wanted to make a change. It sounded like to me you kind of found yourself in this journey. You found like what was really important to you, and that helped you, that inspired you to go open your own location. Can you talk about that and what that was like for you?
Yeah, so, you know, I've had several peaks and valleys, throughout my life. It's been a unusual journey. I've had a lot of different paths that eventually led me to where I am now, but realistically, I'd allowed myself. I won't know that I would say it's truly an addictive personality, but I had allowed myself to kind of slip into a negative place, to where, I did work a lot, but I would use certain certain things that I shouldn't. I drank too much. There was a lot of things going on in my
Yeah.
life that just was not of a positive nature. And I had carried a lot of that with me throughout the years. It wasn't something that just sprang up. It's just something that hung with me. And there's always been that passion and desire and fuel for me to help other people. Dating way back to, my early years when I was in the Marine Corps. And, beyond that, when I got out of the Marines, I felt I lost something of that camaraderie and being able to help others. So, through some other things, that's when I became a fireman. The problem is you don't make a whole lot of money in some of the self-serving
Yeah.
industries, right? You're right.
Right.
So regardless of what happened, ended up finding myself in a wonderful construction career and did well. Had a lot of good success. Had respected throughout the industry. That's being humbled, but I had a good career. But the problem with me was I just felt like there was something missing. You know, I was able to lead, divisions, multiple divisions, but to me, there was just I couldn't individually. I could help men navigate or men and women navigate through the channels of that. But as far as transformation of life, like really make that driving difference in someone's life, I didn't feel like I could do that. Well, one of the main problems I later found out was, as I've often seen, is you can't fix someone else until you fix yourself.
Mm.
Now, granted, I'm a work in progress. Ask my wife, anybody that knows me, I'm looking to improve every single day, but I finally came to the realization that, you are not in a good place in life. And here you are giving advice to other people. And it just didn't sit well with me. So, lo and behold, I was not on any social media at this time. I'd gotten off of it for multiple reasons. Les and I had a wedding planned in December. So this is 2022.
Mhm.
We had a wedding planned in December down in Florida at the Pink Palace. So the Don Cesar. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'll get in trouble. But long story short, this is going somewhere. I promise. So that spurred me in the late summer of 22. I had gotten in really bad shape to where I was weighing like 240 pounds, fueled by a beer. I was an Olympic beer drinking champion. I'd mastered that craft, and it just I just woke up unhappy every single day. I'd gotten to that point in my life to where I was genuinely unhappy, even though I had so many blessings around me. I'd allowed myself to get in such a negative personality, whatever you want to call it. I'd given up on fitness. Every morning I woke up with a headache. Every day I would work and just begrudge something else. I took that what if syndrome to the mountaintops, right? If
Right.
I could only, what if?
Mm.
I was really bad about that. So the spark finally hit, and I realistically randomly have Bedros and another former Navy SEAL, Ray Care, to thank for this entire journey because I had LinkedIn. That was the only social media that I had. And randomly, I saw a program that Bedros was running. It was called Battle Ready.
Mm.
So, Battle Ready, I knew that I didn't need someone standing over me. I could commit to something. And in September of 2022, I signed up for Battle Ready. And that just random day on LinkedIn has changed the entire course of my life. One post
Yeah.
on LinkedIn has changed my life forever. It's random when you say it out loud, really is. The power of transformation, right? So that's what I lean back into now because if one ad can change my life, why can't one of my ads change someone else's life? It only takes one ad and one phone call to change someone's life.
Mm. Preach.
So I I realistically took that concept of being interested in change and made that to being committed, almost to the point I drove my wife insane because I took it and I yeah, I was good at it. It reminded me I'm really good at fitness. God gifted me. I have very blessed in that area at my age. I'm able to still do a lot of unique things with my body. But through Battle Ready, I learned about nutrition, something that was always kind of a missing ingredient. Nutrition to the point to where granularly focused on the micro changes.
Yeah.
So all of that led up to the point to where I said, "Who's Bedros?" Never heard of him before in my entire life before that ad. Not one time. So I started digging in a little bit, right? Doing my own research. Who is this guy who's created this program that I like so much? And through that, guess what I found?
Fit Body
Fit
Boot
Body Boot
Camp.
Camp. Well, guess what? They invited me to come out to California for a photo shoot because I had performed so well in the program. Guess who I got to meet in California? It all boiled down to seeing that one ad that sparked the interest enough for me to check out Fit Body Boot Camp. So as I started doing my own recon, I love what the brand stands for. It
Hmm.
embodies a lot of my life, the family type atmosphere and mentality, the truly encouraging and unwavering support of every person that comes through the door, to where our mantra is, I want to make sure you're a good fit for me before I invite you in, and truly mean that, meaning that we're not just chasing numbers.
Right.
People have a hard time understand that when I say that to them, like, I'm not sure this is a good fit for us, based off what you told me. And they're just, well, you don't want my money? No, I want you to be committed to something. And right now, I don't think you are.
Yeah.
And that I lean on that statement all the time. And I'd say it to my clients all the time. There's such a difference between being interested and being committed. And once you figure that out, and once you figure out that your own worst enemy is staring back at you in the mirror every single morning, then you're one step ahead of almost. Look around. I made a post the other day. I'm surrounded by fast food. I have a I have a Dunkin' in front of me. I have a Best Donuts beside me, and I have McDonald's across the street, and I can see all those drive-throughs. And we'll be in there having a session, and I'll look around the room. There'll be 10 or 12 people in the room, and there's 20,000 cars going through those drive-throughs. And I think to myself, boy, if this isn't the priorities being wrong, I don't know what is, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of a weird way to give you your answer, but that one ad on LinkedIn in the fall of 2022 was a lot of my reasoning for continuing to follow up with the fit body, with the fit body mindset of becoming my own, trying to make that leap into business ownership and starting the franchise.
Yeah. I want to unpack a few things. And one thing that really came to mind is, you said that during your asphalt career, you were leading people, you were getting to mentor others, and you enjoyed that, but you felt like something was missing. And when I was listening to that, I instantly thought you were missing a larger purpose. You didn't have the purpose that you desired. And I think sometimes we think like, okay, we need to wake up every day with a purpose. And your purpose could be, say that you're answering phones all day as a telemarketer, and your purpose is to write down people's credit card numbers and take their payments. And that's the purpose of your job. But are you really feeling like what you're doing is serving not only others, but yourself, and adding meaning and value to your life? And I think that that is really what you were looking for. And I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that, is like, we get up every day and we have things that we have to do, but is it really making us feel fulfilled? And it sounds like to me, it's like you were searching for that fulfillment. And I want to go a little bit deeper on that too. It's like, I'm finding, and I'm sure you are as well now that you're in the industry, many of us owners, we had to go through our own personal journey that was so deep and disconnected from where we are right now in order for us to serve the person that we once were. And we have gone through this transformational journey so that we can be qualified to be that person to help other people. And it really sounds like that's what you're doing to help other people in your community, which I think is just so beautiful.
Well, I appreciate that, and I couldn't agree more. You look at it through a different lens. It's unfortunately makes you a subject expert on pain,
Right.
right? And that's the reality of it is, and that's why I tell people, look, I know it doesn't look it appear to you now. I've been where you are,
Mhm.
and I know how to get you out. But all I can do is give you the keys to the car. You have to turn it on. You have to push the gas. You have
Mm,
to drive to the destination. You have to. The hardest part is getting up and coming here. Once you're here, this is the easy part. So you made an excellent point. One of my favorite books that I read often is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill,
mm,
to where he speaks consistently on that sense of purpose, your definite sense of purpose. I was lost. I was truly lost, wandering around. I was really good at so many things. And I think that's part of the problem that I've had in my life is I can teach myself other than music. You don't want me to sing or pick up an instrument, I promise you. But I can teach myself very quickly how to do things, build things. So
mhm,
I've always been really good at a lot of things, but never really finding that one thing that I truly loved. And I think that's where Fit Body comes in for me. Like, I promise you, and we'll probably get into it more with Les, like I shocked every human alive when I made this decision to do this. Like this was out of left field, but now that we're even just this far in, people are like, I understand now. I
yeah,
see you on that floor, or I see you in this building, and it all makes sense. And the Lord puts you in unique positions sometimes to where we had something and I heard in the service recently is you constantly pray, right, for guidance. Show me how I can better serve.
mm,
Well, how often do we find ourselves in those positions, say, oh no, Lord, take this away?
yeah.
Be careful what you pray for, right? And I feel like that is part of my journey is finally realizing where the root of the problem was, which was me not having that definite sense of purpose, which goes back to that book. I was drifting,
Mm,
constantly drifting. And then when I would drift, that's when I would allow myself to make really bad decisions. And those bad decisions were dominoes. And I talk about this a lot in the gym now. Well, that's the dominoes can all, how you stop the dominoes? You take one out,
right.
take one domino out. And guess what? You can go to the other end and push it the other way. It's the state of motion, the flow that you want to be going in. And another powerful word that you mentioned or you took me to is the power of reframing controls my entire
Mm,
days now. Like when the alarm goes off, you get up, you know what? You reframe it. And I tell everybody, you can reframe every 30 seconds of your life if you choose to. If someone irritates you, you can take a deep breath and reframe it. And I was so poor about that in years past. I was aggressive. That was just my personality. But finding that definite sense of purpose was something that was very critical and key for me in this journey of ownership. And to the last of your point is I've licked the bottom of the barrel. I know what it tastes like. And I don't want anyone else to have to go down that same path. And I will give all that I can to keep someone from getting to that point.
yes. And I like that you mentioned reframing your mindset. This morning, actually today. So last night, daylight savings, my kids are little, so our household is crazy right now. I had to sleep in my daughter's bunk bed last night. And this morning, we recently got her an alarm clock, which I was regretting that this morning because it starts going off at 6:30 and it's just, beep, beep across the room. Meanwhile, I'm on the top bunk, she's on the bottom. And I'm laying there. I put my head in the pillow and I counted to 5. And Mel Robbins says this. She's like the 5-second rule. Just count to 5 and get up and do it. And I literally was like trying to reframe my mindset. I'm like, I'm so tired right now. This is going to be awful too. This is going to be a great day. The sun is shining.
Right, right.
Get up. And sometimes I think we have to do that, whether you're a business owner, whether you're just trying to make yourself be motivated to go to the gym. We do have to reframe our mindset sometimes just to get in that headspace to move forward. Before we get into more of like, some of the business ownership highs and lows that you've had over the last few months, I wanted to ask you because you have had such a transformational journey with your own health and fitness. What for anybody that's listening, what do you think that what advice would you give somebody that feels like they're in a place where they're not feeling fulfilled, whether it's in their career or in with anything in life? They feel like they're not taking care of themselves like they should be. They're just not showing up as their best self. When you were in that dark place, what were some things that you had to tell yourself or some mindset shifts that you had to make in order to get through to the other side?
That's a great question. One of the things is, you take a deep look, and I do this a lot, is, the mirror is either your best friend or your worst enemy.
Mm,
And oftentimes your physical appearance can be a driver of ancillary feelings, whether we want to admit it or not. If you look a certain way, your self-confidence changes. So to me, I didn't like the way that I physically looked. It depressed me. Like, people were like, "What's wrong with you? You look fine." I look down and all I see is this big beer gut. So that was problem number one, is whether you want to call it vanity or not, I had to use that as a fuel, right? So one is recognizing, one, what you want, what you don't like,
yeah.
and truly and understand it. And then two, just having the willingness to begin.
Mm,
It's day one of the new day one. It's every day is an opportunity to be better. If you didn't hit all your marks yesterday, if you weren't perfect, it's not the end of the world. Because in the very, very beginning of it, I still tried to hold on to some of the old things. Meaning, one of my good friends, Nate and Byron from Battle Ready, we established my diet plan. I thought I could be clever and program in alcohol and still hit my numbers.
right.
Can you do that? Probably. Is it a gigantic pain in the rear? Absolutely. And was I really making the mindset switch? No, I wasn't fully committed.
Mhm.
So whether it's day one that you fully commit or the first week, find a way to establish that goal. Write down your action plans, even if it's one line. People
Mm,
overcomplicate things, myself included. Write one goal down, write one action plan, and write how you're going to execute that. Just one thing. Because what do people do? What's New Year's resolutions? What's your list look like? Everybody writes 15 things down.
oh,
And how many of those 15
oh,
actually get done?
right.
Typically zero, because you overwhelm yourself with all these changes. So I like to look at life now in a lot more simpler fashion. And that is to just break it down and go take small bites of that elephant,
Mm,
right? One bite at a time, and eventually you'll have him eaten. So my recommendation is set small goals. You have clients that do this, I know, and I have family that's reached out. They want immediate change and they want to go 0 to 100. That is setting yourself up for failure
yes.
unless you're just an elite mind. But when you go from taking in 3,000 calories a day and say you're going to do 800, you're potentially going to endanger yourself.
Right.
And I know people that do that. I'm like, that is the absolute worst thing in the world you can do. You have to stagger that down, but understanding. But my biggest advice is recognizing the one thing that bothers you the most,
Mhm.
and then research how to change that.
Yeah.
And my last point to that is, if you're in a valley, don't make that decision in a valley.
Mm-mm.
Never make a big decision in your life in a valley, because you have to get clear of the valley before you can make the decision. Because how often are we in that valley saying, pull me up and I won't never do it again? Well, what happens? You fall right back in the valley.
Yeah.
So
That's
that was
really
one thing that I had to do, was to get past some of that.
that's really good advice because I do think too if you make decisions when you're in a valley, it's an emotional response. It's an emotional reaction, especially like our female clients in the gym. You'll see this a lot is they're so quick to make a decision when they're in that valley, when they're feeling emotional, when they're feeling down, and they really should take the time to get out first,
Right.
and figure out how to get out. And I really appreciate that you say, one small goal at a time and recognize and then just start. Like recognize and start. And it's as simple as that. Like, you don't have to wait for the perfect time, and you also don't have to have like a 20-step process of how you're going to reach that goal. It can be as simple as this week, I'm going to start by working out 3 days, and
Yep.
maybe next month, I'm going to start drinking more water. And it can be so small. Whereas we see clients, they want instant results. So they think in order to get instant results, they need to make all of the changes, everything that they do that's a bad habit, they're going to flip it overnight. And it doesn't work like that.
Never does. That's,
No.
that's like me. Like I said, I've tried to hang on to some of that bad until I realized it's either time to do it now. I had gotten to that point in that journey. What are you doing, man? You're trying
Yeah.
to program in 6 beers, and then you're trying to eat 400 grams of protein for breakfast. You're trying to cheat the system. If you're trying to cheat the system, then I realized I was not committed. So there
Mm,
does come that time, but it's
right.
not overnight.
Right. Right.
So I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. Take small bites, one thing at a time. And that's what I tell people all the time is just come one time. I promise you, you're going to want to come back. The
Yeah.
first time's always the hardest.
Oh, sure. That's so great. All right, I want to transition into some fun stuff, the stuff I love to talk about, and that is your journey with FitBody as a brand. And I want to highlight some of the awesome things that you've gone through, but also maybe you could share some funny stories or some low moments that you may have had, just to show our listeners that the struggles are real and they're raw, and there's always going to be the valleys in business ownership. So you've been with the brand now for a few months. We're recording this in March, so you've been open for about 6 weeks. What has it been like working with Fit Body Bootcamp as a brand in the beginning?
Sure. So I tell people to be cautious of the shiny object syndrome. And I've thought a lot about this, right?
Yeah.
Listen, it is a wonderful process, and you meet so many wonderful people. But to me, I had to be real cautious. When we started, Max is a wonderful guy. I love Max to death, you know, and there's everything that he says is absolutely true. You just have to understand how to navigate the water to get to it. Like when you
Mhm.
start the whole entire process, I thought Max was absolutely wonderful. And then, working through the process to where we get to OSC, because you have certain things that happen with your brokers, and you get to OSC and you got to think when you go there, this is the mothership. How long have they been doing this? So I had to step back the other day and think everything looks so easy. They've been doing this for 10 or 12 years,
For
right?
our listeners, OSE is on-site experience, and so when you join the Fit Body brand as a new franchise partner, you have the opportunity to go to on-site experience where you train with one of our seasoned Fit Body Bootcamp locations, and they teach you everything from running your bootcamp sessions to membership retention, how to get new clients, just all of it. So that's what OSE is. All right, continue.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So yeah, so it's such a wonderful experience. One, you meet everybody that night out to dinner, Bryce and Tatiana and everything, and the team. That's one thing that I truly love. Like you'll hear me say that a lot is regardless of where I'm at, I know there's certain people that I can pick up the phone and call at HQ, and they're going to answer the phone. If not, they're going to get back to me as soon as they're free. And that list is long. Try not to take advantage of that, but there's very high support. But just you get overwhelmed with that whole operation when you first see it. To me, it was you got to understand the way I came about FitBody was not be I had never stepped foot. People think I'm crazy. Like I was in the process of opening a FitBody, and I had never still to this point stepped foot in a FitBody.
Yeah,
I fell in love with just the concept. And that should tell you the power of the brand because I had never even been in a facility before. So
right.
that was my first real life fit body workout, seeing the facility, seeing how it was ran. Well, you can imagine I was drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I was in love because they do it best. It's one of the best run operations I've ever seen. So the takeaway was from that for me was I think I was just so enamored by everything. I didn't really ask, probably looking back now, I didn't know what to ask, but I was just like, this is super cool. And I was more just as a visitor than trying to write down and pay attention more to what I should have. Going into the business ownership, I was more of enamored by the shiny object thing because they do such a wonderful job. But, that was kind of one of the things that was really unique was just that whole experience and seeing how they did that and trying to reflect that and emulate that now. Though I did take a lot away from that. I'm not trying to say that. I just you always wish you knew more when you're in that situation, and looking back, I'm like, man, if I could go back now, or if I could have gone back later, you try to pick up those certain things. But I like to agitate, I like to kid, and I do that a lot to the HQ people. Like it was Chris Barth, and I would give him fits, and Segura. We all have a good time. Um, I'd get frustrated with them, you know, over some things, and we would talk through it. Very transparent, very thorough. But, if I felt like something wasn't going the way I thought it should, whether I was right or wrong, was able to voice that opinion. And, there's been some ups and downs. There's been a lot of lessons learned, good and bad. You know, I'd, I'd had a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes on the front end, but learned a lot and really appreciate everything that the HQ team has done as far as support and willingness to help me get that facility open for sure.
Yeah. I think going back to your on-site experience, I remember when I went to on-site experience, which changed so much. This was almost 7 years ago. But I remember being there and it wasn't called OSE then. It was different and Bedros actually led it. But I just remember going home wanting to do everything all at once. Like
Yes.
before your studio was even open, you're like, okay, I'm going to get these 100 clients by the end of next week. And I'm going to do this challenge and I'm going to do this nutrition program. And we're going to add this equipment and we're going to have that. And you want to do it all. And once you get your business open and once you get going, you realize going back to what you mentioned earlier, it's like you have to do one thing at a time. You have to have one goal at a time when it comes to your business, too. Because if you do too much, if everything's important, then nothing gets done. And so you
Absolutely.
have to prioritize, and it's hard in the beginning as a business owner to figure out what should I be prioritizing. And for me, I think just leadership and leading the team was the most challenging part because we're in a service industry and the people that we hire is everything and we want to connect with our clients. And so hiring the right people was the tough cookie for me.
Right.
How's it been for you? Like how have you found your coaches?
Sure. So, originally set out probably to hire more than I needed. Just
Yeah.
didn't know that so much, but I had this plan in my head. I was going to hire three coaches, three part-time coaches. And like I said, that's probably a little more than I needed coming out of the gate. Everybody's different. So I hired a lot, or I didn't hire a lot. I hired every single coach on personality over skill. Again, I know this is a lot of a difference of opinion, but over the course of my construction career, I've probably hired and fired 500 people. So to say I've sat in interviews is an understatement. And, I've got a decent feel for just genuine, interaction with others. I can
Mhm.
kind of tell you right away whether or not, because to me, no matter what qualifications you had, because this is kind of a chip on my shoulder, because throughout my entire career, I was left out of some promotions because I didn't have a college degree. My point to that being, I didn't necessarily care how much qualifications you had because I wanted to see whether or not I could physically interact with you and I knew that I could work with you on a daily basis. That's mainly what I was looking for during the interview process. So I specifically hired all three of those coaches on personality alone.
Mm,
Now, obviously, they already had the qualifications that they needed to get to the interview.
right.
I'm not saying I was just wandering around the streets, which clearly you take California, for example, with Coach
Yeah,
Jake, those things can happen. I just know that's not normal
yeah.
everyday hire, but I hired specifically on personality based on our interactions, our connections. And, we've had great success. One of them, just didn't work out. She just vanished off the face of the earth like 2 days before we opened.
And that happens.
Surprise.
That happens.
But the rest of the team that we've built, I cannot be more pleased. And that's another thing that is an opportunity to give back to others. So it's not only for me, it's not only the clients. you know, I've recently added a member, which is a female, but for the big first month or so, first 5 weeks or so, it was me and two other younger men. And being able to provide a different level of mentorship now that I am in a good place in my life
Mm,
and guide them not only as coaches on the floor, but men that are leaving the building to be out in their communities to be better representatives of themselves, of their families, and everything else. Just that in itself has been a blessing way more than I ever saw coming. So, I know things come and go, people come and go, but I'm very pleased with what we've been able to put together so far. They get it. They're all in on the mission. They're very client focused and oriented, and I see something every day and I'll just smile because I see that change. I see that inflection in their voice, the way they're coaching and training, and I see them repeating lines that they've heard me say on the floor. And I'm just like a dad. I'm just smiling from ear to ear because it makes me happy that I know that they're in, but they have the same goal in mind. They truly want to help inspire change. And to
yeah.
me, I'll take that any day of the week over skill because
Mhm.
I can teach you the skill. Give me the genuineness and compassion and empathy towards other human beings in this facility, and you're on my team for all my days.
Mm.
Truly.
That makes my heart so happy. I actually have a very relatable story to this. So, when I started out, I didn't really know what I should be hiring. I didn't know I should be looking for personality over skill. And I quickly found that out that I did need to do that. But when I was pregnant with my daughter, I got to the point I was coaching 25 sessions a week. And I had a client one day say, what are you going to do for your maternity leave? And I was like, haven't thought about it. And she said, well, I work with this guy at Cracker Barrel who absolutely loves fitness. He doesn't have any real experience, but he programs workouts for everybody that works at the Cracker Barrel. Would you give him a shot? Would you interview him to be one of your coaches? And I was like, you know what? I'm 34 weeks pregnant. I was like, I do need to hire some more people. Sure, let's bring them in. He comes in dressed up in a suit, nice looking guy, best personality, biggest heart. Makes me emotional talking about this. And I hired him on the spot on personality. And he's been with us. I mean, I no longer own the location that he helps run, but he's one of the reasons why we grew so much in our first location. Coach Mike. I mean, he's seriously great. He's so amazing. He's learned so much. Now he has all of the certifications. He coaches up our whole team. He's a great leader.
That's
But I
awesome.
but I gave him a shot, and as my, leadership grew over the years and as our facilities grew, I realized that that was one of the most rewarding parts of being a part of this brand was helping other people do something that they love and being able to be a part of that and just be on that journey with them. It's so rewarding. It really is. And you don't even know that that's going to be a part of your journey until you get started. Like you just think, okay, I'm going to get to coach people every day and help change lives. You don't even think about the fact of the lives you're going to change by offering someone a position that they love to do something that they really enjoy. So I really appreciate that you mentioned that because I just think that is so rewarding.
Right. No, I completely agree. It's definitely a good part of my day. One final piece on that is I am clearly from the South. I don't know if the accent gave it away or not, but so we have a trouble tree. Are you familiar with the trouble tree?
No.
So it's actually a shrub, but we call it a
Okay.
tree. So when you come up our steps, I have them take their fingers before they come through the door and they leave their troubles on the trouble tree.
Oh, I love that.
They go through the door and then I tell them, you leave everything you've got going on out here on this trouble tree. I know you're going through it. We all go through it, but this is a different, when we come in here, it's client facing. I'm always here for you if you need something, but Leave them out there on the trouble tree. Come in. Let's smile. Let's get through this. And I promise you one thing. When you leave the facility of the day, guess what? Two things are going to happen. One, there's not going to be nearly as many to pick up. And the ones you do pick back up aren't going to be nearly as heavy as they were when you carried them in the building. We
Mm.
love the trouble tree. I use it every day. I promise you. I go up, I'll rub my hands across the trouble tree. And then when I leave that building at night, there's not that many left.
Wait, so I have to ask, is this like a legit tree I can Google? Like, is there a certain kind of tree called a
You
trouble?
know what? I
Just
don't
anything
know.
that you want to plant.
We have a shrub. It's a shrub, but I call it the trouble tree because that was how it was explained to me. So I like it's a shrub, but tree just sounds better, right?
I really, really like that. I kind of want to use that with my kids.
Why not?
That is so great. I just wrote it down. That's awesome. All right. So you work with your wife. Your wife Leslie also has her own business. She's a cosmetologist hairdresser. So talk to us about that dynamic because I know that working with your significant other can be very rewarding, but also very challenging and you can butt heads. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so this is probably where you'll get more laughs than any. So I knew, Les and I, when I originally started the Battle Ready program, we were not yet married.
Mhm.
And, as I worked my way through it, yes, she was very proud of me. So I went from 240 pounds to 185 pounds. And from September to April, that was the transformation. And under 5% body fat. So I had a massive transition, right?
Yeah.
But you understand, the levels of discipline that requires. Well, that can be cumbersome for your significant other because
Right.
you're not eating Mexican chips and salsa. You're really dialed in. But so there's that was going on. So that's
Yeah.
one. So she's already a little agitated because I had a massive shift all at not, we got to be cautious of all at once, but
Right.
I kind of, we weren't just party animals, but we would go out and have cocktails with
Right.
friends. And I kind of had to, you
Dial
know,
back, figure out how to replace it with something.
yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize how much impact that could have on a relationship, but you do have to be cautious with that. You get used to a certain lifestyle, and she's been a saint, but so she knew I wanted to do this. She respected it. But then I also knew there was no way I could tell her I was potentially thinking about getting into separate business. Not yet. Like I would never obviously keep that from her, but I knew in the beginning stages, my wife, God love her, is very risk adverse.
Okay.
Okay. Then you have me, like I just told you with some of the equipment, like I am going to go for something in usually moderation, but this one was a little bit different. Like this was a heck of a Hail Mary I was fixing to throw. So after some conversations I'd had with Max, so let me set this up for you. We got married December 30th, okay, of 22. In January is when I started talking to Max. Okay. The initial Fit Body conversations were started in January of 23. So let's fast forward to March when I obviously have had several conversations. I've figured out the capital and the funding kind of on my own. So I am using the word prominent is probably not the right way to play it, but I had a very high position at the company I was at.
Mhm.
Very well liked. We'd go, this year we were slated to go to St. Thomas. Last year we went to Aruba. These are company trips,
Yeah.
very, traveling around, running a division, probably had a, pretty good advancement. There were only a few more positions I could have gotten, but could have cruise controlled retirement.
Yes.
Very, made very good money. We
And
were
that's
very,
probably what she was prepared for. That's
yeah, she
probably
was. So we're
and that's
married in December. This is the life she knows, right?
right.
I've been doing this for 25 years. There's nothing in her brain that thinks it's going to change. So you can imagine the look on her face come March when I say, I need to talk to you about something. So I think I'm going to quit my job and open a gym. You can imagine how that conversation went. The look on her face, she goes, so let me get this straight. You are leaving everything that I've known you to do for the past 20 years. We've been married for what, 3 months? You've completely radically changed your lifestyle. Now you're quitting your job and opening a gym. Who are you? That's what she said. Who are you? I'm like, you have to trust me. You
Yeah.
have to trust me. Like, cause I was working a bunch. Like, it wasn't like I was on easy street. Like, that
Right.
job was very demanding. 6 days, oftentimes 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. My phone would ring. It was sucking the life out of me, truly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know this is going to sound crazy because in the beginning, I know I'm going to be working 7 days a week, but there's an end game here.
Yeah.
So the original conversations were not good. They were not good at all. She was against this. She was against this 100%. So you know what I had to do, right? I had to get the needle swinging in my direction. Fortunately, we had the photo shoot in April. So I was able to get her to come with me to California to the photo shoot.
Oh, yeah.
And so guess what? We lined up. Me and Max and Barth lined up a trip to HQ to where she could get around some people, get the tour. And lo and behold, who ended up giving us the tour was Bedros. So he gives us a tour, and that kind of started softening up, and we were able to have a good conversation. She started realizing, this is really what you want to do. I will support you, but holy moly, who are you? This is just going to be a crazy, are you sure? Are you sure? And I'm like, you got to trust me. So we end up signing the contract while we were there at HQ in April. So
Oh, wow.
she's still okay. I say it kind of swung her. She kind of
Yeah.
retracted after we left California. OSC changed everything. She finally, and there's some clips of her that they had done some promos with us in it. OSC changed everything when she was able to get around everyone else and see some things and see how I lit up when we were doing the training and how I interacted with Jake and John, and Tatiana was great. She spent a lot of time with Les and really nurtured that relationship, which helped me out a lot. So we owe a lot to Bryce and Tatiana for that. And that kind of softened the blow to where we were able to start putting things together. And since
Mm.
then, she's been such a wonderful trooper. There's obviously been a lot of adversity getting the business open that we've worked through. But, now she comes to the gym with a smile on her face. She's always willing to come help me out when I need her. She's not coaching yet, but we're going to get her there eventually. But she's really done a 360 and loves the concept, loves the brand, and I couldn't be happier. We don't argue about it anymore.
That is awesome. I knew there was a reason why I had you on the podcast today because you are speaking to so many listeners right now. I just know it because they have all been there or they're there where they have this comfortable job or they're probably making good money. Their significant other is used to their quality of life. They're used to their lifestyle. They probably have kids. There's too much at risk. It's like, why would I walk away from everything that we're comfortable with right now? Why would I walk away when I could likely ride this out and retire? What would this look like for my family? Will it work out? And you decided to just jump all in. And it wasn't easy for you to jump all in
Mm-mm.
because you did have Leslie saying, are you sure you want to do this? Is this really who you want to be now? But I think that's just so valuable for people to really recognize. It's because, look where it got you. I mean, you have more, maybe not the freedom that you're looking for yet, because in those first few months of business ownership, we all know it's tough, but you're going to have the freedom. You're building this empire now that's yours and only yours. And you get to help other people do something that you're excited about. And it's going to change your life for the better, whether it feels like it right now or not. You know it is.
Right. No, I completely agree. And it wasn't just her, God love her. It was family. I mean,
Yeah.
it realistically can be everybody that is in line with you. They're going to question it. All my coworkers, are you crazy? You're doing what? And I mean, and I get it. they didn't want me to leave. I wouldn't have wanted me to leave either. And in a modest, humbling way, like, so I completely understood. But now it's like there's still stress. Clearly, there's still stress. We're still in infancy mode. The paint's still, I say, we're still in the fresh paint mode. We're not in the old seasoned scars on the wall yet. We got fresh paint. So, but the thing is now when people see me, say, you don't look as stressed. You don't look as tired. You don't look as angry. There's so many things that they say to me. And I'm like, I'm stressed, but it's a
Right.
different kind of stress. It's
Yeah.
not debilitating stress. It's not waking up and dreading going to work stress.
Mm,
It's just differently. Everything in my life is impacting in a more positive way now. The positivity that comes from making that change has been unmatched. It's unreal. Everything in my life is better now because of it. It's because I'm decided to make that one change, which is not easy to make. I agree with you 100%.
yeah. Oh, this is so great. I feel like we could talk about so many things pertaining to business, but then also personal transformation. But I want to leave our listeners with this. So, what are your top three tips for someone who is thinking about not only starting their own gym, but maybe just starting a new business or starting something new in life, like leaving what's comfortable, getting uncomfortable, and navigating some new waters?
So, a couple of things. I have three good tips for you, and then I want to read something for you.
Yeah.
So, one thing tremendously helped me. I talked to Barrett Henson. He was one of the people that I talked to randomly. I had no idea the affiliation. When you talk about one of the most naive people, and naive not in a bad way. I did not know Barrett and Bryce were brothers. I just thought I was calling a facility owner.
Right.
And to Barrett's credit, that's all when he spoke to me, that's what he spoke to me as. And he said, Shane, I tell you what, man. He said, the best advice I can give you after we had our conversation, and I know he's probably heard it 1,000 times, is if you're going to do it, go all in. I mean, I know that's the cliche, but there's no farther truth from that. It's, some of the men's groups that I have is I tell people, if you're going to do something on a larger scale, you've got to burn the boats.
Yeah.
Every boat. You can't leave even a life jacket. You have to burn everything to where there is no escape hatch. There's no plan B. So go all in and burn every boat. And I'm not saying that in a daunting way. Be prepared to make that kind of commitment to
Mm,
where you don't have an escape plan, because I don't. I pushed every chip that I had, all my retirement, everything that I have is in this investment. So if and that does something to you when your back is against that kind of a wall. Two things. One, it makes you appreciate everything you already have. Two, it makes you just have that revigored spirit of fight,
mm,
that you're going to be I want to be the best fit body there ever was. Why not have that mindset? That
right.
doesn't make me want to be better than anyone else. I want to just do it to the elite level. And when
Yeah.
you're in that position, you start doing more of this and less of this. So that was a long point one, but go all in, burn the boats. Number two is early and often you can second guess the decision and want to quit. It's easy to do. I promise there's a million things that will go wrong.
Mhm.
You won't have enough money, that you won't have enough assets. There's something going to go wrong with your building. There's going to be a massively unexpected expense. You can have a coach walk away 2 days before you open your doors. The list is long, as you well know. Being able to overcome that adversity and not ever even remotely think about quitting or second guess your decision. And that falls back into that reframing. So the only quitters that ever get anything are the one that hasn't started anything. So to that point is don't quit and embrace that discomfort, right?
Mm,
That's the main
yeah,
heading, because to get comfortable, you got to put yourself in uncomfortable positions.
yeah.
Finally, and this one probably maybe needs to be higher on the list because I was not good enough at it in the beginning. Seek counsel from those that have it, not opinions from those that don't.
Yes, I love that one.
Because that is a gold mine. Again, big Napoleon Hill guy. I read all his books in rotation. 3 Feet from Gold, just finished it again. There's so many nuggets that you can pick up from so many people that are willing to give them to you. Like if
Mhm.
I was to pick up the phone and call you tomorrow, you or Trevor, you guys would answer my questions and be glad to do it. I
Yeah.
just would have to ask them. Find the right people. But because if you go in the wrong direction, everybody that you think love you, they do still love you, but they're going to give you wrong advice. They're going to tell you to quit. They're going to say, this was stupid. You should have never done this. Turn that noise off and start working on getting to the finish line. So this
Mm,
is where I was going to read you something.
yeah.
I can't give proper credit. Bleh. I can't give proper credit because I'm not sure who exactly this was. But oddly enough, I'm one of those weirdos that listens to motivational speaking all the time for fun. And to me, this is on repeat often. I love this paragraph. So again, I'm sorry, I don't know who it was, but it goes something like this. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, if you will gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror for opposition for it, simply go after that thing you want with all your capacity because you have the greatness in you. Love that.
Mm. I love that too. And I do believe that anybody listening to that, you are the only one that can determine what motivates you most. And I think that's sometimes hard for us as entrepreneurs. It's like sometimes we might feel like we're after the wrong thing or we're spending too much time on the wrong thing. And you have to find what lights you up inside. And when you find that, you can do it all 100% and go all in, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Really like that. That's great. Well, Shane, this has been so awesome. And I am excited for you guys. And I can't wait to see you grow. Um, Here in the next few months, I know your studio, it's going to change so much. I know in those beginning few months, it's just crazy. It's a whirlwind. But I'm excited to see you again. I guess I'll probably see you at World Conference, which for our
Mm-hmm.
listeners, that's a big event that we have every year where we get all of our owners and coaches together. And this year it's in Las Vegas. So that's going to be so much fun. But where can our listeners learn more about you and Hendersonville Fit Body?
So currently just, our two social media pages we have is just Hendersonville Fit Body Boot Camp. That's the best avenue to get them, or obviously our websites. You can go to the main website of fitbodybootcamp.com to find us at that location.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. As always, make sure to check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify, and share this episode with all of your friends. Until next time, you guys, thanks so much.